Impact on Your Health is sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, M.D., Director of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002 for Dennis J. Courtney, M.D.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to AIM Impact on Your Health. AIM Impact on Your Health, where every day our goal is to have you learn at least one thing to help you live better and longer. AIM Impact on Your Health is heard each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney, and I'm with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. AIM Impact on Your Health, where each day you'll find current medical news, knowledgeable guests, and fast-ending health topics. And of course, where we do encourage you to call in to join in today. A gentleman who, of course, has been here many times before, uniquely attached to a gentleman who we've met at least on one occasion before. Talking about Dr. Michael Kiriak, a Soviet scientist who is involved with the formation, creation, now production of the most ideal supplement with respect to his bioengineered algae concentrates. Now, if you haven't heard the story yet, we get into a little bit of it this morning to rehash how we come about with this bioengineered algae concentrate and how the two of the doctors got hooked up. Now, Dr. Kiriak in outside of Soviet Union, no longer existing, of course, but living in Toronto, Canada, and working very closely with Roland Thomas in a company called BioAge. We're going to be talking about the product line of BioAge today, the unique, I call it, all-inclusive supplement, and its relationship to some pretty important medical conflicts that are now in the news. One, vaccines. Dr. Roland this morning, just before coming on the air, he said, hey, we really want to talk about vaccines a bit. I said, fine. And also diabetes. So our discussion today centering around how it may be that through correct supplementation you can help deal with the two of those, and even then some more, be with Roland Thomas this morning. Now, if in the course of our discussion with Roland you want to call in to ask a question or to make a comment, that number, of course, will be 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. And I'll give that number additionally throughout the hour. Now this week we're going to have Susan Smith-Jones with us on Wednesday. She now returns. We are smack dab rolling along here in the month of November. Holidays around the corner, and as I've already told you, Dr. Vavavoom wants to discuss 10 tips so that you don't gain weight over these holidays. I know it's a big worry for many that happens. And to get you ready for it, Susan Smith-Jones will be with us on Wednesday. The rest of the month will be shaping up. Just returning from the group occasion down there in New Jersey at Body Bio, where the PK protocol originates from now, under the tutelage of one Patricia Kane and her husband Ed Kane. Ed sort of runs the company, and Patricia does all the clinical work. Anyway, back fresh from my little conference down there with them. Of course, bringing up and conjuring up, after last week's topic, talking about the 9th blood test. Remember, we had such a bit of discussion about the LDL particle size. And I do believe, by the way, that explains so much about how it could be that someone with virtually great lipid profile numbers, normal cholesterol, wonderful triglycerides, LDL, HDL, perfect. How do they have, and how could they have, because this is the question by the very patients themselves, how could I have had a heart attack, or how do I have cardiac disease if I have these great numbers? Well, as you all know, as listeners of the show, there are many more numbers other than just that one lipid profile, and one of them, the newest one of them, we talked at great length last week in discussing the LDL particle size. I suggest that you want to know that number, and you want to be able to do something about it. Unfortunately, you won't be able to do anything about it in the conventional realm, they cannot lower LDL with any drug selectively. They certainly can't lower small LDL, the problematic particle size that we call the ninth test, either. And so you better handle it in other ways. We have championed those ways here at my office over many years now. Hopefully you'll come in so we can talk about it. Anyway, because I just returned from the New Jersey Office of Body Bio, I can recall bringing to you my last occasion when I was there in August, the 10th test. And that 10th test, which is now on my list of 10, remember that list evolved from 8 to 9, now to 10, is something called TMAO. I want to bring it just to mention it because we talked about it at great length this past weekend. It's gaining much more prominence. It is believed, now think about all the tests that we do with the lipids, with the C-reactive protein, the homocysteine, the lipoprotein little a. The list goes on and on and on. Put all those together, and it is believed that the most harmful, potentially harmful of all of them, even put together, is this new 10th test that only gets done in one laboratory in the entire United States. That lab happens to be located in Denver, Colorado. The test is a urine test. It is precisely done by that one lab. And I mention it to you because with the new literature swinging in the direction of really placing this one in a high level of prominence, I'm urging many of you to consider, those of you who especially see me and want to be managed by me, to consider this particular test. The 10th test, TMAO, of course, stands for trimethylamine oxide. TMAO is the little acronym for short, but this substance, this material, gets made from intestinal bacteria, inappropriate intestinal bacteria. This is a product formed by the flora, the bacterial flora of the large intestines, and then this substance can gain entrance into the circulatory system, and once in there, it is believed to be highly inflammatory. Now, the way this is checked for is to be able to check the urine to find out if this particular substance is found, because if it makes it into the bloodstream, it will be eliminated via the urine, and that's how you do check for it. But because it's a new one, look how long it took before the boys got around to LDL particle size. They're confused about it right now. They say they're divided. Remember, that was the headline. Doctors divided over the use of new blood tests. Well, they may be divided over that one. This one, they don't have a hint of just yet. But, of course, way ahead of the game, educating you, as we like to do here, we have made you aware of TMAO as the 10th test. I bring it to your attention. Of course, the correction of this problem, if it should really exist, goes to the fact that you have to correct the bacterial flora. You have to remove the old flora, and you'll have to place down the new flora, and it is believed that the particular form of bacteria that you'll need to make sure that is well represented is one called L. paracensis. Many bacteria found in various probiotic formulations. But this is one that's specifically stated in a case of TMAO elevation in the bloodstream would mean eradicate and cleanse out and remove the offensive flora and make sure that the new flora is well represented by something called L. paracensis. And anyway, that's about enough on the subject now that I thought I'd bring to you to just refresh you on the fact that there aren't just 9 tests, as one was led to believe last week, talking about LDL particle size. As important as that is, there is a 10th one, and right now you won't be hearing a thing about this in the media. It comes out of research done at the Cleveland Clinic. So you'll ultimately be hearing about it, but Cleveland Clinic is the only one to do the research on it at the present time. And we'll let it go at that. Okay. We're going to take a short break, folks, and in the interim, I'll go find Roland up in Toronto, Canada. It's been a while since we spoke with him. We'll rehash the whole story about the production line and how it comes to be that we have bioengineered algae concentrates. What are those? They are the all-inclusive of the supplement world, in my opinion. Be right back with Roland.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instruction, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you are looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Want to help your family eat healthier? Instead of learning to disguise tofu in wondrous ways, how about some real nutritional power? If your family has the typical American palate for fries, pizza, and burgers, giving your family the blessing of good nutrition is a struggle. Fruit of the Spirit is the answer for your family's nutritional needs. Fruit of the Spirit is an all-natural, whole fruit puree made from fresh fruits native to the Holy Land with alkalizing minerals. Fruit of the Spirit was 5 years in the formulation, the work of a team of top nutritional experts with independent science to confirm its antioxidant power. 1 ounce a day provides the equivalent of 5 servings of fruits and minerals. Fruit of the Spirit is convenient, affordable, and delicious. Even your picky family will sing the praises of Fruit of the Spirit. Give your loved ones the blessing of good nutrition. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Fruit of the Spirit, a blessing for your good health. That's 1-800-442-3793. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AIM Impact on Your Health. Heard here on KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you today in a Monday morning version of the show. Here we are in the month of November, and I've been anticipating the return of this guest today. Every time we're with him, well, I enjoy the opportunity to hearing the bioengineer algae concentrate story. You'll be apprised of it, and then to find out the next takeoff, the next dimension where these forms of supplementation play a major role in preventing and correcting various disorders, medical crises that come our way. We're fortunate enough to have the president and CEO of a company called BioAge, and the unique relationship that developed between Dr. Michael Kiriak and this gentleman today who continually brings us the information about this company and the unique products that is able to produce and supply to us. His name is Roland Thomas. He comes to us from Toronto, Canada. Let's say good morning and welcome him back. Nice to have you with us again, Roland. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, Dennis. It's a pleasure to be here on this lovely fall morning.
Oh, it's lovely up there, too, because it is gorgeous here today in Pittsburgh.
Yes, it is.
Roland, you and I are old friends now, many, many months of knowing one another, and quite honestly, been on our show many times, too. It's been a while. I check. It's been about 5 or 6 months since you've been back, so that may be the on-record longest time in between shows that we've done. So with the listener in mind that may be finding us for the first time, so as not to confuse him or her, could you please tell us about this interesting gentleman, one that you came to know and now work with side by side, called Dr. Michael Kiriak, and the result of his years' worth of work that you now help promote throughout the world?
With pleasure. It's been so long. 5 months out, time just runs by.
Is it ever?
Yeah. I met Michael Kiriak 13 years ago now, and that's how time flies. per chance, or as destiny would have it, my brother-in-law introduced me, and he recounted to me his life story and his mission, his achievements, and his goals. At the time, he was looking for some financial support, and I was connected with some investors. That didn't pan out, but the relationship stayed. I was impressed with the man, with the story. And I'll briefly tell you what transpired in his life, and from there you'll understand why I was so impressed. He was born in Moldova, at the time a satellite state of Russia, the former Soviet Union, the communist time. And by the time he was a teenager, he had lost several members of his immediate family, lastly his father, to pancreatic cancer. That sort of shaped his life in terms of his wonderment at medical science, the progress that had been made. This was in the 60s, versus not able to tap into or to stop this epidemic of pancreatic cancer in his family as well as in the region. As life would have it, he ended up studying cellular nutrition, a degree in biology, and was involved in early research on microalgae, using microalgae as a source, a nutritional source of preventing diseases as well as augmenting health, if you wish. And his mandate was to research in livestock, with which this region of the Soviet Union had some problem, massive productivity decrease, as well as many cancer and epidemic. As a result of having, as you know, concentrated all of the small farms into these large production centers, as we have done in the USA, and that leads to hygiene issues, infestation, eventually disease, and low productivity. You get half of what you can get out of an animal when you treat them like this in these massive centers. And in a period of 15 years, he and I'm talking a serious research project here, hundreds of associates, other research workers, hundreds of centers, university, and eventually thousands of farm workers were involved in supporting this project that grew from a small unit having a vision that maybe these microalgae could help alleviate or prevent diseases, to building up to developing a blend and mixing of several algae together, learning how to grow them in a protected environment, nurturing these microplants in biophotoreactors, protected small, if you wish, man-made covered facility, protecting from pollution. They discovered the use of using thermal spring water from volcanoes, which brings up or spews up extraordinary rare trace elements and mineral, the foundation of plant life. So they evolved a blend that by about 10 years into the research, they had shown that it could prevent cancers in over 20 species of animal tested. And subsequently, they saw many stabilization or remission of existing cancers, very much so. And subsequently, in 1986, after the Chernobyl explosion of the nuclear reactor, they had an opportunity to experiment a little bit more formally with hundreds of children and some adults affected by the radiation. We're talking about severe degenerative condition here where people were basically scheduled to die. So they were able to apply to test their formula or their blend, and with great results. As Dr. Kiriak tells us, many people are alive today because of that experiment. And in closing, there were many other small experiments with humans, but the mandate was to test it with animals first, and it never got to a formal human research project because Soviet Union basically fell apart in 1990. That project was put on the shelf, and many other events occur since. Dr. Kiriak immigrated to Canada in 1996 and began offering his blend there for human, and to this day he has continued to do that. The blend has now been certified by Health Canada. There are 3 different grades. That means it is tested for purity. It is approved for the 3 grades of the formula, and he's allowed to claim as a non-pharmaceutical that it is a blend rich in antioxidants known to be good for the maintenance of health. He's obtained that certification, and I have been helping him introduce and promote the blends in the USA since the year 2000. It's going to be 11 years this year.
Well, it is certainly a circuitous route that brings you to us, the happenstance of how you run into the gentleman, and the fact that he really ran into the right guy. You knew what he had, and you knew how to take it to another level to provide us with those kinds of products and those kind of supplements today. I often refer to this line, this F1, F2, and F3 line, these 3 grades of purity that you have, as an all-inclusive. I use the term because I'm familiar with taking vacations to Cancun, Mexico. And the big thing down there is that if you go there on an all-inclusive package. Everything's rolled into one. I often look at the F3, F2, and F1 as just that. So many different kinds of supplements rolled into one. Could you quickly just go through that to tell us what I mean by saying all-inclusive? Because I think you know what I mean.
Yes, that's what impressed me the most when I met him and when he challenged me to try it. At the time, really a year after I met him, I was taking myself 20, even more different bottles of supplements and a bunch of capsules, maybe 60 capsules every day of different supplements. In my own quest for alleviating my chronic back problem, I had a knee tendonitis. I was getting old. I was gaining weight. I had some energy issue. A 50-year-old man, basically kind of average, maybe a little better than average because I had no diagnosis per se, but already several complaints. And he challenged me. He didn't say to stop anything. He just says, roll and try this. And he gave me at the time a bottle. And that first night, I had an actual realization from feeling the effects that this was something absolutely different. This was not just a nice story that he told me. It was I was skeptical. Obviously, I was skeptical. And it sounded too good to be true. But I felt it, and within weeks, I dropped all of my other supplements. And since then, I've really turned my life around 180 degrees. That's 12 years ago. I've run marathon. I have no more back problem. And we're going to talk maybe about the flu today, but I have not had a cold in 10 years. I've had like a third of a cold one season a couple of years ago, which I managed to get over in a day or so. I don't have cold anymore. I used to have the typical once or twice a year. I would have a sinus infection and all the pain related to that. And this is just one of the many, many benefits that I am living, me and my family and my animals, my pet. But, Dennis, I work, as you know, by now with thousands of people. And I have stories that are much more dramatic and impressive and spectacular than mine.
Well, go ahead, Claude. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Well, I was going to say that basically it's a real food. You've asked what's in there. How can it replace so many supplements? The first reason is that it is a whole food, but it is complete like you've never dreamed before. It has thousands of different nutrients, and some of which you would never find anymore in our diet, even ever, because they come from depths of 2,000 feet below or below this volcanic peninsula where it is grown, which means we bring up rare trace elements and other phytonutrients, and the makeup thus is what we call complete, but it's also balanced. They didn't make in 15 years something that would throw you off. They struggled to keep it balanced, meaning it's not going to cause an acute result or an acute acidity or further toxicity, giving you benefits and symptoms or side effects. They struggle and they manage to leave it balanced, but it's also synergistic, and that's a big one to understand. Synergistic is the power of teamwork. It's the power of three people together, the force of three people over three person individually. This is a very lame example, but literally in micromolecular structures, when you add, in terms of these algae, there's 4 algae added together, with each having thousands of nutrients, you get an effect of, for example, 4 algae, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 does not equal just 4,444, but 4,400,000, etc. It's that synergistic effect when it reaches your blood, the communion of these extraordinary actual food molecules, nutrients within your blood, and the results that your body obtains and achieves with it. The other dimension is that in its structures, because of its purity and efficiency at being a food, it has the ability to abundantly, though in a very small size, affect nutritionally the brain, which I call the brain within the brain, the cells that make up our brain, but certainly those that make up that that make up the hypothalamus, which is we call it the regulator of all metabolisms in our body. And I'll make it simple. I don't know why they make these words so complicated. I relate to the hypothalamus, half an inch size organ in our brain made of billions of cells, as the maestro, as the chief within our body, which regulates the orchestra, all organs, all glands, our temperature, our blood sugar level, our pH level, our immune system, or basically the capacity for me to talk, to breathe, and my temperature is regulated 24/7 by the genius within. And so that's the second value added. Besides being a perfect food, it has the ability to influence nutritionally the brain within the brain. And in Dr. Kiriak's words, when you can do that, when you can increase brain health, or the health of the maestro within the rest of the body, is a no-brainer. So that's sort of the rationale as to why just a small capsule of green food, barely 1/3 of a gram, can replace so many other supplements. It's because it contains a little of everything, some of which you would never get anywhere on any shelf or any diet, but the efficiency of which is such that rather than supplementing, let's say, every deficiency that you have, for example, people say I'm deficient in vitamin D or calcium or this or that, so rather than attempting to fulfill those holes, fill those gaps, it rather increases your maestro's vigilance, if you wish. It awakens the maestro, it awakens the genius within, which in turn, when functioning well, when operating with energy, then it will increase your ability to acquire your nutrients from your food, which is where we should get our nutrients from. It will even protect you from pollutions in your food, or even from some supplements that may not always be the right for us. People have a tendency to take mega doses of certain supplements, like these days vitamin D is taken at thousands of units, or vitamin E, or calcium, etc. So it will even increase your body's ability to protect you from yourself. It increases your immunity, your protection, your capacity to assimilate nutrients, so that you don't need to take extra supplements.
Now, when Michael Kiriak was first commissioned by the Soviet Union to deal with the problem, and the problem existed in animals at the time, right? That was his first. That was his first assignment.
That was correct. That was the test bed because they were having a serious epidemic of cancer, which affected basically the food for the country. Because that part of Russia, the western part, was basically the livestock area. So all of the meat came from there, the sheep, the goats, the milk. This was the real supportive region for the nation.
Well, you know, I look at this and I say, this is an interesting dichotomy. In the veterinary world, dealing with animals, when a problem arises, and you just speculated on a few what they were, whether they were cancers or just poor yields or dying early off, the scientists go in and they try to figure out what's in the feed or what isn't in the feed. And it's a thing about developing a dietary resolution. Quite the contrary in human world, when there's a medical problem, when there's a cancer, name any other, that particular process does not occur. In fact, the entire energy of the medical world is developing not a food, but a drug. Interesting that in animals, a more appropriate approach has always been taken. Never the drug route taken first. Always the feed. You look at the farmers in our area; they are the best animal husbandry representatives that there are because they're solving these problems every day with the herds of animals, and it's in the feed. It's always in the feed. That's how they correct the problem. We don't do the same for humans.
That is so true. You know, I've worked over the years with so many small farmers or people that have horses or 75 goats or sheep, and it's always a matter of the water, of the feed, of where they graze. It always comes down to that, and they never talk and look. There's never any pharmaceutical other than not even antibiotic. They stay away from that when they can, of course, unless they're on these large farms where it's mandated by law, or if they want to be part of the club.
Gotcha. So, mission accomplished way back when it came to those animals. By the way, he did do an excellent job getting that thing turned around. I think I remember you talking about the successes that came from the development of that bioengineered algae concentrate on those animals. And then when the Chernobyl thing hit in 1986, I don't know if it was just, well, he did good with the animals. That's how he did with humans. Anyway, the Soviets sent him there and embroiled him in one of the most catastrophic events of our lifetime, and he didn't do too bad there, did he?
He didn't do too bad at all, even though it was not like a formal mission. There was basically hundreds and thousands of people were on deathbeds, and they had no place to house them. They had to evacuate a city of 500,000 people. And thousands of them were affected seriously early on, and especially the children. So this was a knee-jerk reaction, a panic affair, and whomsoever could take children and house them in some makeshift YMCA or school or dorm was welcome. And Dr. Kiriak and his team did put in a request, and they were able to work with hundreds of people for the full next year following the incident with great results. And many died, of course, that it was too advanced, as you've seen some of the picture. But they saved several and many. And by the way, to this day, Dr. Kiriak has been helping a local family there, and particularly since he came to Canada, because he was able to manufacture his blend actually better with more capital eventually. And he's still helping people annually that suffer with epilepsy or thyroid issues or leukemia or anemia, which is quite prevalent in the region, as you may or may not know. It's still ongoing. Chernobyl never stopped because the results from the parents having been affected, their children, and currently there is still a lot of pollution even in the air, because the reactor is still leaking, as the world knows. They weren't able to cover it properly. They never extinguished that thing. It's still burning for 100 years. And also, much of the region has been hundreds of miles around the center is still affected with radiation debris, and that still affects the food chain.
I didn't realize that this thing is still raging. I actually, it's been so long now, maybe our memory, our short-term memory, doesn't account for keeping things up to date in 2011 world, but you say the thing is still going on over there, huh?
Yeah, what happened is that after the accident, the engineers, and Russia was this is all hidden, as you know. The world saw whatever they wanted to show us. They planned to cover it and to dig and to cover it with concrete, and they did build some sort of a covering, very slick concrete structure on top of it. But according to Dr. Kiriak, he had actually been in a few meetings where Gorbachev was there in an urgent, critical moment, and apparently he was not happy at all because they hadn't dug it deep enough and they hadn't covered it properly. And it's been left to this day, and I believe there are frequent revisiting of the area to patch cracks and so forth. So it was done quickly, but the actual radioactive fire is still there, hot and present.
Oh, boy. Well, with that in mind, then, why don't we just take a short break? When we come back, could we pick up where I think you really wanted to take up today, which is, okay, there are a whole bunch of medical issues that confront us each and every day. Right now, seasonally, the issue of vaccines come up. I know you had something to say about that. Also, in the realm of diabetes, you had something to say about that. This is truly the beauty of the bioengineered concentrates, because it's not just a matter of supplementation. It's taking on medical problems through, essentially, your diet. Be okay with you if we return and talk about those things, Roland?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back in a moment with Roland. You may have a question for him. Feel free to give us a call at 412-825-6262. We will return in a moment.
Just got the word. The company's new health plan has a $5,000 deductible. We have to make sure nobody gets sick this year. Remember what those doctor's visits cost for last year's colds and flu? Well, sorry, I gotta go. Love you.
We can do this. We can cut the fast food lunches. Soda, that's a lot of sugar. We could all take that evening walk. And hey, I heard a program about fruit. Fruit of the spirit. What did they say? 1 ounce, the equivalent of 5 servings of fruit with herbs and minerals. We could add some to our breakfast protein shakes. Fruit of the Spirit is unique whole fruit puree. Fruit of the Spirit contains fresh fruits native to the Holy Land and alkalizing minerals from the Dead Sea. With no added sugars, Fruit of the Spirit is a unique product from 5 years of work from science-based nutritional experts. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Fruit of the Spirit, a blessing for your good health. Fruit of the Spirit, convenient, affordable, and delicious. That's 1-800-442-3793. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instructions, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you are looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AIM Impact on Your Health here on a Monday morning version of our show. We're today talking with Dr. Roland Thomas, a naturopathic physician from Canada, and the unique relationships between himself and one Dr. Michael Kiriak, a brilliant scientist, a Soviet scientist, who now gives us a wonderful way to supplement for ourselves, supplementing, yes, in order to keep the chassis rolling, all the parts of our body running well. But sometimes things do go haywire, and it's nice to know that in keeping with the veterinary way, it's all in the foods, it's all what you take in daily. And Roland, we were talking off air that in that same vein of disease, we find ourselves now in a seasonal thing. Each and every year we're hearing about flus. You say that up in Canada you're really hearing about it in your media. I don't think we're hearing as much down here, but take it for a moment and talk about the issue of flu and the issue of vaccines, and where F3 and the bioengineered algae concentrates may play a role in helping to reverse.
Yes, this year we don't have the H1N flare up, but the reality is that it is if you wish, it's part of the fabric now of the medical profession or the medical system, where every mother and every old age person that visit any clinic, any hospital, any Walmart, it's now available in pharmacy, even in supermarkets, where you can get the flu shot. It's sort of accepted as without any advertising this year because there's no flare up. But certainly the vaccination industry has gained millions and millions and millions of clients as a result of the various every few years there's a flare up and a fear, and people get onto the vaccination, and it becomes a habit for many of them, older folks that don't have any clue, really, don't ask any questions. A lot of people like that. They just watch the commercial on TV and they go get a flu shot without questioning. Now, do your research is my advice. I am writing extensively on this topic this month in my monthly bio news, which I'm not going to detail now. If you would like to have access to that, just go on my website, bioage.com, sign up for the newsletter, or go to quantumleapwellness.com, and there you'll find in my bio news many archives, but certainly this month. And the other topic we're going to talk about, diabetes, will also be there. But specifically, I want to bring up a couple examples rather than dissect the whole industry. Now experts, actually, conventional experts, not alternative, conventional experts question the whole vaccination program. It is a fact that they even question it. It is a fact that is driven by a tremendously large corporation. This is a pharmaceutical company, and there's huge lobbying to continue the vaccination programs and to sell the stock, and this is a fact. And here in Ontario, we're seeing naive commercial, get your flu shot, as if there's no explanation whether it's valid or not to do it. It's just get it. That's what the commercial on TV tells you to do. I don't think that's fair, but that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about, I'll give you an example. I shared with you that I've not had, myself, a flu or a cold to speak of in over 10 years. This is incredible for me. All I do is I take these little capsules, and I'll explain what happens when you do that. The other thing I want to share with you is that I've recently worked with a herd of 75 bighorn sheep, which were affected with a bacterial infection, which is called Yonis, which basically the vet told the owner, a woman, to get rid of her herd because it'll never heal, and she'll basically propagate this around the region. She resisted. She began using the bioalgae, and she saved the majority of her herd. Some of the older ones, which were very weak, fell by the wayside, but she saved the majority of her herd, and to this day, she has been able to reclaim a full remission on the farm. That's another example. The other example, and I'm using sort of multi-pronged example, was my ability to not get cold. And by the way, I could, point to hundreds of our clients that also will share with us that they're not getting the usual amount of cold or none at all in their family and their children. But this other example is interesting because it relates to HPV, which is the human papillary virus, which has become quite hot and a popular topic, where now families are advised to even have their boys vaccinated for this virus. I'm going to use a case instead of listing a lot of detailed science about it. This Vanessa lady contacted me over 2 years ago, and she had been diagnosed with the virus, and her doctor at the time was a little alarmed, and he said, well, we're going to have to watch it. 2 years later, she goes for a test, and he tells her that she has lesions, and he's going to have to do a LEEP, L-E-E-P, surgical procedure to scrape some of the cervix. And she's scared, and she's not happy at all about it, and she consults with me, and I said, well, that's too bad. Please take your time here. Think about it. Get a second opinion. That's what I told her. And I said, wait 3 months. Take the capsules now, the discipline. Apply the capsule and change your diet a little bit. We talked about that. And that was in January of this year. And I haven't heard from her until October 13th. I get an email. Roland, I've seen my new physician for my new test results Monday, the 11th, and everything is cleared. I have no virus. I have not had to have the surgery. I am eternally grateful, blah, 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 blah. Now, what happened? What happened that the infection and even the scarring went away, and she didn't take any vaccination. She didn't get any surgical procedure. That's what we need to talk about.
Yeah,
and in essence, that was proven in 20 species that when feeding the animals regularly a small amount of the bioalgae on a daily basis, that they were protected from viruses and bacterial infection to the point that they stopped using antibiotics on those large farms, which normally would be suicidal. So how does taking a small capsule of green food on a regular basis protect you from the multitudes of viruses? It doesn't matter if it's the cold seasonal flu or H1N or the swine flu or the West Nile. Viruses are abundant in our life. The concept of using the capsules or the food on a regular basis daily is that it increases, as we said earlier, your brain energy, the vigilance of your maestro, the chief of the orchestra, the regulator of all metabolism, which in turn regulates even your energy, because human energy is about humming, if you wish, fine-tuning the car. When all cells are playing the same tune, literally, then they work in synergy, and they hum. And that literally, by the way, prevents viruses from being happy, because viruses and bacteria like lazy environment. But there's more to it. It increases the performance of your immune system, which is the white blood cells work, for example. But also, please think of the immune system in terms of when every cell in your body is in fine tune, is operating at best, then every cell in your body is part of your immune system. It's not just the white blood cell. That's not how the human body operates. We are a multitude of systems all working together and fundamentally supported by energy. The other aspect of protection that the capsule offers. As I said earlier, Health Canada has allowed Dr. Kiriak to mention that the capsule contains a high level of antioxidants, known to be good for the maintenance and protection of health. So there's a lot of antioxidants in the capsules, and when you take them frequently, a little bit throughout the day, you are giving the body the ammunition, if you wish, to support your energy and your immune system in quenching, let's use that expression, quenching free radical or changing your environment from oxidated, if you wish, acidic to alkaline. So it is antioxidative, which is an environment that bacteria and viruses appreciate is oxidation, which is debris, which is a little bit, I use the example like a swamp. It's a simple example, but where critters abound, while in a clear crystal lake environment, you don't have that same swamp environment, if you wish.
Now, we should mention, because we have a few minutes left, this material is something I've brought into my office now for quite some time. We do carry it. We send it out for those of you who may not want to come in directly. I always send, and it's interesting, the book that the Genius Within, okay, as well as a DVD that comes along with it. I find that by giving them that book and that DVD, they really do come to an understanding about how unique this substance really is. And then, Roland, could you mention, for instance, like the dosification of it? If you had a problem in play, how should you start taking this material? And then I see this as being extremely economical, 3 and 4 months out, because you can back off and come down to a reasonable daily consumption for a maintenance. Could you spend a moment on that?
Yeah, very, very important to know that, to be aware of that. The upfront costs appear high, and it is higher than normal vitamins, etc., but it is much more comprehensive. It is definitely worth even $1,000 more than it is if you were to want to compare, And the reason for the cost is that this is not a vitamin manufactured in some sort of lab in a city. This is grown in real bioreactors on the field in the volcanic region. It has to be grown there, nurtured there with electricity, with light, and as well as freeze-dried there with the equipment is there. And then from there it is exported as powders, dried powders, into Canada, where it is then blended very, very specifically according to Dr. Kiriak's recipes, and subsequently encapsulated and bottled and labeled and all that. So there's a real cost to it. But to your point, yes, we recommend to take between 3 to 12 capsules daily, depending on where you sit on the scale of energy, whether you're older and fatigued, or if you have any diagnosed condition. And let's say you're taking 8, and we'll suggest for a period of time of 3 months, 6 months, 1 year at this higher level. But very soon into the program, even 6 weeks or 2 months into it, you can even convert to, let me give you an example. If you were taking 8 capsules per day, you have reached a level now of support, and we can recommend that you drop to a half capsule 8 times a day instead of the full capsule. A little less practical, but you'll save on 4 capsules. So you'll really be taking 4 capsules a day, but you are stretching it into 8 half capsules. So that's a strategy. We even have people that we discovered that in clinical evidence that the quantity was not as important as the frequency. It's how many times you take it per day. The more you take it per day, the more effective or efficient it is, if you wish, at keeping the maestro, the genius within, on high alert. As little as 1/3 of a capsule. Some people choose to do it 12 times a day. We were going to talk about diabetes. For example, with diabetes, that's the best strategy, is hourly, even if it's 1/3, 1/4 of a capsule. It is enough to create, if you wish to kick the hypothalamus, that maestro on the shin, enough that it is alert, it is more vigilant, and even you will even see literally with the sugar, your test, a little device to test your blood sugar level, you will actually see a dip, a considerable dip in some instance, in some cases, about 15, 20, 30 minutes after taking some of the powder. So that's how it influences the brain at regulating metabolism better. The other thing that takes place is you're increasing hormonal sensitivity again. You're awakening the response of not only the glands to the signals, to the status of in your body, but also even each cell of the body becomes more sensitive to leptin or to the various hormones and molecules necessary to react, to adjust, for example, blood sugar level through producing more insulin, even at the cellular level, because, as I said earlier, when you increase the vigilance, the energy of the maestro, the orchestra, the chief of the orchestra, then the players, the cells in your body, will be in tune. They will be waken up with a tap on the desk by the chief. Wake up and do your job. Literally, it's as simple as that. There's a communion. There's a feedback mechanism between the brain all the way to the tip of your toes. Let us not forget that that's how the human body functions. We are not made like a car, separate parts. We are a union of 100 trillion small microscopic cells, each cell being an intelligent form of life, cooperating together with the maestro, with the billions of cells that make up the brain within the brain, is what I call it.
Well, we got bongos in the background. I'm glad you got to that thing about dosification. I think it's very interesting, folks. If you want to purchase this product, give us a call at our office, 724-942-3002. We got a DVD and a booklet to send out to you so you can come to appreciate it. This comes to be very economical as time rolls on. Roland, thank you so much today. We'll bring you back in the future. You'll come back, won't you?
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to chat with you like that from time to time.
Okay. Folks, there you have it. I'll see you on Wednesday when Dr. Susan Smith-Jones will be with us. Until then, this is Dr. Dennis Courtney with Roland Thomas saying so long for AM Impact on Your Health.
AM Impact on Your Health is sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, MD, Director of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002.